Hello. Today we will look at how moon moves around in our sky. So the motion of the moon in the sky as we observe, as we see, that is something that we will go and see today. Imagine yourself standing outside on an open place where you can see the horizon and you are looking at east. Let's imagine you are looking at east. Now, what you see, and let's say today is a full moon day. So, this is a full moon today. You will see the entire surface of the moon. It looks very beautiful with nice features on it. Now, if you come and let's say it is 6 p.m. in the evening, your local time, and the moon has just risen above the horizon. Now, when you see the next day at 6 p.m., the moon will not have risen. It will take plus 50 minutes, so plus 50 more minutes in your time, and only then the moon will rise. But again, look that the moon is not full moon like yesterday, but it has slightly reduced amount of surface that you can see. The next day, it will again rise, but it will rise with additional delay of 50 minutes, about 50 minutes. And again today we will see that the shape of the moon has changed. And this goes on, and after about 7 days, you will see a half moon. Again, every day the moon rises a little bit later, about 50 minutes later. Now, let's see. So we see that there are already two or three things that happen here. First is on one day with the new moon, you see the full moon. With the full moon, you see, let me change it, sorry. With the full moon, you see the entire moon's surface. Then after about 7 days, you have something like a half moon, where you see only half of the surface of the moon here. So this is half. About 7 days. Then again after another 7 days, so about 14 or 15 days, there is no moon, nothing. You will not see the moon in sky on that particular day. So let's show it by a dotted line. And then again a few days later, about then the next day the moon starts increasing. You will see a small phase of the moon, something like this, to this order. And this is what you will see. And again it increases, and after about 7 days from the new moon, new or no moon, let's say, then you again get into the half moon phase when you see only half of the moon, and then the cycle repeats. Then you see some another phase which is called as the gibbous phase, so which is more than half but less than the full, and this is not visible. And then here, and then you go back all the way down here to the full moon stage. So again from new moon to half moon, this is about 7 days, and from here again to the full moon it's 7 days. So the total cycle for the moon to come back from a full moon to the next full moon is about 1 month. It keeps on changing. We can see it, we will see it later why it changes. 1 month or about 30 days plus or minus a few days there. This is something that we know as the lunar month. Now let's imagine the same thing how you will see in sky. So what you imagine yourself standing on a plain ground, this is you, and then you are, this is the east, west, south and north. So what happens is on one day the moon rises somewhere in the eastern direction at some point time here, and then it tracks its motion during the day and it will set somewhere here in the west approximately. Now the next day the moon will again rise, but two things will happen. One is it will rise as we saw before 50 minutes later, then the phase will change. So 50 minutes late, the phase of the moon that we see, how much of the moon's surface we see changes. Then the other thing that happens, if you are observant enough, and let's say you have a building or a tree to keep your reference point here, so that every day you can measure how far the moon rise was with respect to that tree, vis-a-vis that tree. You will see that the next day it can happen that the moon rises late with a different phase, but also from a different position, also from a different direction. So it could rise from, say, let's say here, and it makes a slightly different track in the sky. Okay, so this is not the same track that we had before. Again, the next day, few days later, the moon will rise again from a different place from the, let's say it is half moon here, and then it rises and makes a different track in the sky. So every day, these things keep on happening on a time scale of about, as we saw before, 1 month. So just to recap, there are phases of moon which change daily and return back to the same phase after about 1 month. Then you have the delay in moonrise every day, and this happens about 50 minutes on a day to day daily. Then the third thing that we saw is slight change in the location or from where in the eastern horizon where moon is rising, and the last thing we of course saw is the path taken by moon in the night sky or in sky also changes slightly. In the next video, we will see why this happens, why these things happen, and what can we what can we understand from these simple observations in mind. These things do not need any telescope or any sophisticated instrument, perhaps a notebook to write down your observations, and a watch for timekeeping, is all that you need here. Let us look at these things in the next video.